can leave this in the edit if you want. Should we order a couple more bevs?
Yeah, let's do it. It is my round, to be fair. Yeah. Shall I do it? What do you want?
I'll have a bottle of Peroni, please.
What a way to start the trip.
Yeah.
With the Spanish beer.
It's more Spanish than anything we'll find in Murcia, I think. Yeah. Or where we're staying in Murcia.
Tom, why don't you set the scene about where we are?
Stansted Airport, which is remarkable. This is the scene of a lot of empty nights during Euro 2024, delayed planes, Ryanair, and I never thought we'd be here on the way to a Cambridge United match. Well, actually, no, I did, but I thought it'd be in a proper tournament.
Yeah. What, he's saying a friendly at 11 a.m. against Preston in in the region of Murcia isn't a proper tournament?
I'm not saying it's not proper, I'm saying the Champions League is proper.
Tell us that story about that night that you slept in this Wetherspoons. By choice.
It probably feels, in my memory, it's probably more mental than what it actually is. Which is basically me and friend of the pod Ryan Johnson were flying out to Cologne. I think it was sort of round of 16 in Euro 2024. That was the game where Jude Bellingham scored an overhead kick.
Yeah.
Always nice to have a mention.
I missed that one. Yeah.
We'll try and get a mention of that on every single pod at some point during this season. But yeah, look, to put a long story short, plane was delayed by a long time. They put us on the plane. 2 hours later, they took us off the plane. They then rebooked the flight for like 9 o'clock the next morning. And we thought rather than going out and coming back in again, we'll just sleep inside Stansted, which felt smart at the time. Felt less smart about 3 o'clock in the morning when we were turfed out the Wetherspoons in here.
Oh, that is great.
Not for anything bad, because it was shut.
No.
Which I didn't even know that happened.
No.
Prep was still open.
I don't think anyone's tested that.
But by the time you're about 7 in, the last thing that you want is a salmon and avocado bagel.
Yeah, they're not doing big bottles of Peroni from the Pret, are they, at 3 in the morning? Look, we should say hello. I mean, this is us obviously on the way to the pre-season tour. UTAS daily. UTAS has gone daily, Tom.
Yeah, for a bit.
For 3 days. And that's it.
72 hourly.
72-hour daily pods. I mean, it's what people were screaming for. People said there weren't enough.
Screaming.
So we had to go
Not
daily. So the way I think the next 3 days are going to work, today we're going to have a bit of a catch-up because we haven't really caught up about stuff in a little while. And then tomorrow we're going to go down to training. We're going to watch the U's train, bit of behind-the-scenes stuff, and then we're going to chat to a couple of the players. TBC exactly who, but we've put our requests in. And then Friday we've obviously got the big game. When we were planning it, Tom said, should we preview the game? Don't really know what. I don't have much to say about the game.
It'd actually be really hard getting a Preston fan to preview it as well.
I wonder, I hadn't really considered are there going to be many Preston fans out there?
I don't know, mate. I have no. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how many Cambridge fans are going to be there. I don't know how many Preston fans are going to be there. Luton are playing there at some point, so we Luton fans there. Yeah. For anyone that's not been following this and isn't aware, it is worth setting the scene a bit, I guess, in terms of the game we're actually going to, which is Cambridge against Preston in the south of Spain, remarkably, at a ground called the Pinatar Arena, which, as far as I can see, seems to be like a training facility with a small football stadium attached to it, which is, again, as far as I can see, I might be missing something. There's probably more to it. Seems to have been built purely for the purpose of giving English football fans, English football teams, a piss up every summer during pre-season. Thank you very much for that. I mean, that's a great thing. But when I've been trying to explain to people at work what I'm doing, they probably stay with me until the bit I say the word Preston, and then they're like,
yeah.
Sorry, what? Just run that by me again?
That ruins all the illusion, doesn't it, straight away? Yeah, it's quite a unique experience, this. I never really thought, even for a pre-season game, I'd be sat opposite you, flying out to watch a Cambridge United game, but, here we are. Look, we've got a lot. We'll chat a lot about Spain and our environment and stuff and where we are when we're there, but should we catch up first on various things that... I think the last kind of catch-up pod that we put out was me and you just after, when England was still in the World Cup. Don't need to talk about that.
Well, I mean, look, we can talk about it for a bit.
Let's make it brief, though.
Yeah, I don't want to make it a big thing. I will just say that it's quite eerily reminiscent of Cambridge's season in a way, where you come out of it feeling like not as devastated as you maybe were at one point, but with the unerring feeling that we finished third, and that's great. And for what it's worth, it is an achievement. We're all happy with it. But if it wasn't for a late balls up, we may have finished first.
Yeah.
Arguably, England not winning the World Cup is more monumentous than Cambridge finishing third but still being promoted.
Still getting promoted, yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, it's just the beers arriving, everyone. Do you want to? I mean, let's not. I think if we get a chance with there's a very outside chance we might get a little word with the man Neil Harris tomorrow. I'd be quite intrigued to ask him what he made to Thomas Tuchel's decisions in that football match.
Yeah.
Without taking over the whole pod, do you want to give us your sort of spark notes on what you thought?
What my take on what I think Neil Harris would think, or what I think?
As another
they might not be that different, actually.
As another brilliant football brain, yourself and Neil Harris, what do you think?
It's probably what's been repeated on all the other major outlets, but we just bottled it, big style, had them in exactly the position we wanted them to be in, and yeah, just didn't really capitalise. I think negative substitutions in a moment which probably needs to be a bit braver. Really annoyed that he came in on the remit to win the World Cup, and his whole stuff was about how maybe in previous tournaments we've looked more worried about losing games rather than going out to try and win games and progress. And he's just kind of reverted on that in the most important moment. Like, his job wasn't from the start of January 2025 or whenever it was he took over until now. His job was from when we went 1-0 up against Argentina until, well, unfortunately when we went out against Argentina, and he failed. I imagine Neil Harris would say similar things. I've seen him shut up shop early.
I was going to say. Well, I will say I was watching this game with yourself and Matt Caspel of this parish, and Caspel, at the moment that the cons had come on for Gordon, Caspel turned to me and went, "That is so Neil Harris," and we laughed about it at the time. And then 10 minutes later, like, no, that is too Neil Harris.
Yeah, look, if you want to know what I really think, I will be in a taverna somewhere, in wherever it is that we're staying on the south coast of Spain, where I'll tell you what I genuinely think about the game. But as far as podcasts go, this is going to get released to the public, so we'll keep it clean for that. Yeah, that's basically what I think. We sat a bit deep and we got punished.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
But we all had a laugh in the end because the Argies got beat anyway, so that's the real quiz.
And they did it with such grace and decorum that it doesn't really matter in the end. From the biggest game of the summer, Argentina-England, to what I would probably argue is the second biggest game of the summer, which is Cambridge City versus Cambridge United. The first pre-season friendly of the year that we were both at. I say we were both at this game. We were physically in the presence of the village of Sawston. Tom, do you want to try and describe to the listeners how our afternoon went?
Yeah, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. The game finished 3-1, so 4 goals. It was 3-1, wasn't it?
It was 3-1, yeah.
Because we're still not quite sure now. We missed the first 3. I think a highlight of the day for me was, so we basically we got to Cambridge City's ground, which is a nice facility, by the way, like for their purposes. Obviously, really reaffirmed the idea that I'd never ever want to leave the Abbey.
I was just going to say, even just moving out of the city limits of Cambridge, like,
but
how far away
the situation that Cambridge City were in, I think they've got a pretty good result by having that ground. But anyway, we got there. Very quickly became clear that you couldn't get a pint in the ground. You could get a pint outside the ground. So we thought, let's have a pint outside the ground, which spilled over past 3 p.m. We were told that the game was delayed a little bit the season before, so we just assumed that might happen again, because it's pretty busy, big queues getting in, all that sort of stuff.
Couldn't really hear much from the ground.
Couldn't hear anything.
We were only just outside. Yeah.
Remarkable soundproofing, fair credit, like fair play where it's due. And we found out it was 1-0. I think just we walked into the ground to Cambridge City. Right. They went ahead. Fair play to them. I found out it was 1-0 in the most remarkable way, which I think came from a passage of our play in which Louis Apperet either miscontrolled the ball or hit the ball over the bar or something like that, and made a pretty throwaway comment about, of course, because it's Louis Apperet, and someone in front of me turned around and said, "You know he's just scored, don't you?" And I said to him with the utmost confidence, the confidence of a man who's seen the ground, I said, "No, he hasn't." But he had. He made it 1-0, and then we went ahead through trialist, which again we found out moments after leaving at half time to go and get another beer.
I think it's worth saying that we gave it every chance at the end of the first half. We stayed until, I think there was a minute of stoppage time, wasn't it? And I think we stayed until that last possible moment. We went, that's enough.
Yeah, well,
we went outside, and then 10 minutes later we find out.
We didn't give it every chance.
We gave it more chance than usual.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then in the second half, I've never been so desperate to see Cambridge United score a goal.
First pre-season friendly against local rivals like village team Cambridge City, all that sort of stuff. Like a second half which, if anything, means nothing other than just getting people through it, which we didn't do that either, but we'll come on to that. But you're just thinking, this game doesn't matter, get through it, get some fitness into legs, all that sort of stuff. And then there's like the group of us who had missed three out of 3 goals at that point so far, baying every time we come forward, just willing it into the back of the net, sucking it into the back of the net. And thankfully we got our pound of flesh because Ben Knight managed to score to put some sheen on the scoreline, so a bit of a glisten on the scoreline to make it 3-1. A good workout for some.
Yeah,
for
a good
most.
workout is the exact. That is exclusively reserved for these types of football matches. I guess the other kind of big thing that we did see, but didn't really. At the time, I don't know if anyone really clocked the significance of it or quite how severe it was, but Callum Stead going down injured, or I think he went off injured actually, hobbled off. Knight also hobbled off, but absolutely fine by all accounts. Stead, unfortunately, 3 months out, confirmed by Harris in a week. It's a bit of a brutal blow, isn't it? To sort of, am I right to say marquee signing, or at least like one of the biggest signings of the summer for sure, the first signing of the summer. Set your stall out with a signing like that. He's out until October. It's quite a brutal blow, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. For so many reasons. I will say as well, at the time, I thought Knights looked really bad.
I thought Knights looked worse, definitely.
And that, if anything, that's why I probably didn't even think that much about Stead. And I think actually our conversation was like, hopefully Knights okay. Obviously, Stead was taking obviously precaution.
Yeah.
But obviously, it turned out to be completely the opposite. Yeah, I'm a bit gutted. I'm gutted for him because obviously it's a really big move for him as well. Like to come up from, well, what in 2025 he was playing the conference, comes through League Two, really decent season, gets a really decent move for his career up to us, and obviously for us as well. I mean, you don't want to be too flippant about things, but it does feel very welcome to Cambridge United, Callum Stead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's injuries, right? Like if obviously we hope it doesn't happen, but if Lavery pulls up at some point during pre-season and is out for a few weeks, you kind of roll your eyes back and go, well, of course he is. Whereas Stead, you do feel like it's really unlucky. No history of injury. Sounds like it's a real impact injury more than anything, which obviously isn't good because he's out for a long time. It's a nasty injury. I think it's ankle ligaments, which is like nearly as bad as it can really be for a footballer. Obviously, it could have been a lot worse. I guess it could have been a much worse version of that. But anytime you hear the word ligament, you kind of squint your eyes a little bit. But yeah, it's really bad. I think where it leaves us as well in terms of needing to replace him, it's a really awkward spot because you feel like he'd have been maybe not the first name on the team sheet, maybe not a guaranteed starter, but again, going back to something that Tuchel was talking about during the summer, like he knew he had like a first 15, and I felt like Stead was very much in that first like 14, 15 players who, if they're not starting, they're one of the first that come on, regardless of the situation really. And 3 months is, we're talking end of October there, like there's a lot of footballs we play between now and then.
A lot of important football as well, by the way.
Yeah.
There's 2-week international break this year, which I know doesn't automatically apply to us, but I think that's Wimbledon at home and Luton away, is it? No, Luton away is the second one, is it? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Then we go to Oxford.
Sheffield Wednesday, I think it is. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a bit... I think there's also... The timing's an interesting point that you make there as well, in the sense that if he's out for 9 months and does his ACL, obviously it's much worse injury, much more brutal of a blow. But there is quite an obvious, like, you're in the middle of the transfer window, you can, like, go and try and replace him directly with a loan player, or even someone who gets you until January. 3 months is almost that weird middle ground where it's like you don't want to really waste your budget on someone.
Yeah, what's the opposite of a sweet spot?
Yeah, a sour spot.
Yeah,
it's a sour spot.
Yeah, it's a sour spot. Isn't it?
It's a sour spot. For him as well, obviously, because the guy's then also going to take a while to get back up to fitness. So it's back end of October, but that's probably not playing 90 minutes, is it? So
yeah, it's really cliche, but like during pre-season as well, it's probably the worst time really because there's things about like gelling with the team and all that sort of stuff, but. How many times have you seen it with players who come in mid-season, you go around sort of February, March time, you go like, cool, wait until next season when they've actually had a pre-season, and to miss all of that, yeah, it's a real blow. It's a real blow.
I think other performances to pick out, I would definitely say the trialist, who I think was Tommy McDermott off the top of my head. Do you want to tell the story about a friend of the pod?
I can't remember exactly, but we basically arrived at a point where we thought, we were basically trying to find out what this guy's first name was, and we kind of came to the opinion that maybe... Oh no, sorry, that's it. Friend of the pod, Stu Baker.
Squeeze football
for a lot
of people.
Yeah. Like people already know him better as. Someone said the trialist's name is McDermott, and he quite innocently asked, is that his first or his last name? To which I thought it would be mental if that was his first name. Then I thought, well, what is his last name? If his name's McDermott. Or is he just like a Brazilian?
Yeah.
Where his name's just McDermott.
Evan Nielsen or something.
But I thought he impressed. I mean, like, you read as much as you want, I guess, into pre-season minutes for a trialist against Cambridge City of whatever league they're in now. But he looked okay. Like, he seemed like he was everywhere at one point. Got forward, got back well, scored his goal. Looked like he sit pretty deep. I mean, the sort of top level facts were that he was at Shrewsbury last season. He's now not at Shrewsbury. I kind of made the assumption on that maybe Shrewsbury don't fancy him, but it's clearly not that. I think he came through Burnley's academy.
Burnley's academy was on loan at Shrews last year.
So I guess if you're looking for a profiler player, maybe that kind of fits in with the others that we signed, particularly like a Heath, for example, in that, all right, maybe a Premier League club don't fancy him. He's got good minutes, good experience at a team in a level that's similar to ours, and maybe the next step is upwards again. He looked fine. I mean, you don't want to go overboard on those. Like, you probably want to see, I guess, Harris and the guys will see more of them in training, whether he's actually worth a shot.
There's also, a bit of chat I saw was like there was a bit of surprise that he was even on trial at a League One club, in that they thought he was such a good player that someone would have just signed him by now rather than him having to be on trial anywhere. But I guess you maybe have to consider the personal side of it. The lad's only like 20, I think. If he's been at Burnley and Shrewsbury, and I think he might have been at Vale before, there is this element of you moving across the country, which, look, I mean, everyone can have their opinion on that, but that is, I'm sure, a factor in this, where he might be thinking, if it's between a Cambridge and a holding out for, I don't know, make your mind up on a Northwest club, a Stockport or a Bolton, or I don't know. Bolton's obviously a stretch now, they're in Championship, but you take my point. That's like, there is obviously a personal aspect to this that might not be anything to do with us. It might be totally on him not wanting to commit to us. It might be that way around, right?
Yeah, it might be. I also think, and I don't know this, but I just get the impression that during pre-season, a lot of players go on a lot of trial at a lot of clubs, and I think that often, if you're unattached, it does you no harm to go out and just get some minutes somewhere without there being any chat of any commitment to a deal or maybe a longer term look at a player. And obviously for a club like ours, in the situation that we're in with our squad and the situation with what we've got with recruitment, we need a centre mid. McDermott's a centre mid, so it's an unattached player without a club looking for a club, and a club that needs a centre mid, and the two might not go together, but for that game, for that situation, to be able to play two totally separate 11s and not overwork like a Don Ball or a Ruddock or something like that in their first game back, and have to give them 90 because there's no one else, or have to draft like a 15-year-old kid who's maybe not ready yet, it just works for all parties. And I guess we'll see. We're obviously sat in the airport on the way to Spain to watch Cambridge, which again sounds mental on the face of it, but I don't know if he'll still be there. If he is, then great.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you take a trialist on a trip like this, do you? I mean,
it feels like a real touch if you do. If you're the trialist.
Seems like it. Yeah, go for it, mate. So, other things to discuss. So there's been a couple of behind closed doors friendlies, a 2-1 win against Southend, and then a Braintree result we haven't been able to find yet, but I'm sure some people listening will know it. Hard to draw any conclusions for any of those games, considering they're behind closed doors, and it doesn't sound like much has been made public from those. But new signings, there's two to chat about here. Patrick Bauer signed a couple of days after we last recorded. He played against City. Big lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
Big boy.
Gigantic.
Wow. He is massive. The Charlton fans absolutely love him. If you don't know a lot about him, he racked up a good, I think, 150 plus appearances at Charlton.
Scored the winner for them at Wembley, I think.
That was his last touch in a Charlton shirt, apparently, as well, sending them up. Last minute winner against Sunderland, I think it was, at Wembley. Then went on to Preston, racked up another 100 or so appearances, but didn't play for about 2 seasons there. I think he literally made about 8 appearances in 2 seasons at Preston. Then went to Wimbledon last year on loan. Did okay by all accounts. I don't think they weren't a particularly good side last year. I think there was a performance at Wigan right at the end of the season, backs against the wall. They were on a horrible run. They won that game, which basically kept them up. And all Wimbledon fans have pointed to that game as like, that was the best we saw of him. And it was kind of enough for him to have had a good season, if you know what I mean, even if maybe his performance level for the rest of the season wasn't perfect. So he signs as what appears to me as a kind of head it and kick it, big lad replacement for a Raggett / Morrison type of player.
Yeah, basically that. I think obviously Raggett had 1 or 2 cameos.
Yeah, but I mean the profile in the squad. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I think certainly from Morrison.
Yeah, the experience that Morrison brings. Sorry, is maybe the point that I was trying to make there. They're like, the guys. Bauer's 34. Like,
it's experience. Like you say, head it and kick it. I'll say. Apologies for pronunciation if I butcher this, but I would say Fleisch und Kartoffeln, which is German on the pod, which is German for.
You've got to be careful with the German, Tom.
Yeah, I do. I really hope I've not mispronounced it too incorrectly. But Fleisch and Kartoffeln, do you know what it means in English?
Kartoffel, isn't that potato?
Meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Head it, kick it. Also did find out as well, and this feels bad because we might end up chatting to Paddy Bauer at some point tomorrow. But we did also find out that his surname Bauer also translates in some way to farmer or peasant. So
Paddy Peasant.
Early nickname is Paddy Peasant.
Paddy Peasant.
Yeah.
Which is complimentary
In a way. Yeah. We can't know. No, but yeah, I think it just seems like a sensible business. I mean, I don't know anything about this guy beyond the fact that he scored for Charlton and is massive and is German.
I can totally see the game situation in which Neil Harris wants Paddy Power.
Other bookmakers and all that sort of stuff.
Zwei to 1.
That's great.
Paddy Power to come
Zwei
on.
to eins.
Zwei to eins, yeah, sorry. To come on in a game where we're defending a lead.
Yeah, 1-0 up in the 3rd minute. Get him on. Thank you, Thomas.
The other one is who signed, I think at the time of recording yesterday. It came out of nowhere, this one, to be fair. At least leaks have sort of gone out the window a little bit in recent years. There doesn't seem to be a lot of build-up to signings anymore. But Callum Perry, 20 or 21-year-old, can't remember now, who I thought when you look him up, it says left centre-back, which is where he played on loan at Rochdale last season. He played every minute of the second half of their season and left centre-back in a back three. But apparently is more of a left-back or more of a defensive left-back in a back four. Obviously, I think the benefit of him is we probably have the option to do both. And in the way that we were trying to replace Gibbons as the right side of a back three, if you see what I mean, 3 centre halves, you move Jobe over to the right, you've got Perry as your option on the left of the three, or you've got him, assuming Harris will play 4, which we think he will, you've got Perry as your starting left back. Comes really highly rated, Tom. I'll pull up a couple of reviews in the time that you can give us your first thoughts on this one. Any translations of anything for this, or?
I mean, to be fair, they do speak a totally different language in Coventry, as far as I'm aware. So maybe we can find them. It's not quite many times to Google Translate just yet. Yeah, I think it seems like a decent bit of business. I mean, again, I'm not going to claim to any loads about this guy. If you do, you are welcome to hand yourself in at the nearest police station, of course. I think it does seem like we brought him into play as a left back, like a proper left back, if you like. I think you're right, like the versatility is good. The versatility is something that I think we like in a lot of players that we sign. So if you look at Stead, the fact that he can play anywhere across the three, well, when he's fit, of course, can play anywhere across the three behind the striker. Feels like that's something that we've targeted on a little bit, finding people who can play multiple positions. Are obviously going to bring in the odd specialists like a Hadmay, who's only ever going to play as a number 9. Patrick Bauer is only ever going to play centre half. But people can play in different roles, different shapes. Obviously a good thing. We obviously moved between 4 at the back, 5 at the back, mid-game as well, like plenty of times last season, depending on whether we're losing or chasing a game. So to have the option to do that without necessarily having to make a sub is obviously really good. Just looking forward. But yeah, I think again, and this is where, on the last pod that we did after the re-signings of McLaughlin, Lavery, and to an extent Hadmay, there was maybe a little bit of frustration from our side. I think was just this is the profile player that we want to target. Now, obviously, ideally, you go and sign them permanently. You sign them on for 3-4 years, like we've done with Heath, for example, and they come in, they do well, they progress, and then you sell them on for a bigger fee at the end of it. And that's kind of the real quiz for us as Cambridge United. But obviously, he comes in on loan. But what we've done really is go out and recruit a player who looks to be on the upward trajectory. Really good season with Rochdale. I hope the end of our season doesn't look quite as dramatic as theirs did at the end of it. I'm not sure I'd get through that, particularly given the summer just gone. But it seems like a good bit of business. I mean, Cov fans seem to rate him really highly. I would say anecdotally, just before you get onto it, and there might not be anything in this, Cov fans seem to rate a lot of stuff very highly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you see that a lot on the socials?
I don't know. They just seem like a very positive fan base.
Yeah,
I suppose you learn to be positive if things go well after a period of 20 years where you're basically kicked out of your own ground. Have to play Northampton, Birmingham, all the rest of it. But seems like a nice bit of business.
They really do rate him quite highly. This is a couple of messages I got about him. Lovely footballer. Saw him for a half on Saturday at Northampton, and he looked a little concerning physically, but he's very classy and calm on the ball. Someone who watched a bit of him last season at Rochdale, stepped up really well last year. He became quite trusted. Once Sam Beckwith, who had got injured, had returned, he was moved to playing at left wing back as well. So it seems like he played all the way across left wing back and left centre back. In a direct side, he's probably a back 4. He's probably better playing left back. Might be a good test for him having to dog it out more, having proven he can play last year. So it seems like he really is someone who has got ball playing ability and looks like a really good pickup, I think. Exciting to see how that one turns out. Maybe we'll see if we can catch a word with him this weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say as well, I think it's good to plug that hole at left back.
Yeah.
It's probably not the most backhanded way of speaking about being pleased to sign somebody ever. But I think when Neil Harris spoke of the importance of that trip they had after Barrow away last season. I think it's a Christmas do. Hopefully Spain will be a bit more productive than that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he did mention was how good it was for team morale and togetherness. And if you want to widen that to a trip like going to Spain for a pre-season camp, presumably this is the bit where you get the bulk of your gelling done as a team. Which is going to be so intense, so together, not many distractions other than just football. Well, actually, arguably there are a lot of distractions, but you know what I mean.
Maybe the distractions are part of it, though. That's the point.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
But I guess basically you have now an opportunity to at least build an 11 that you could start the season with on day one. Clearly, we want to add to it before that, maybe during it. Who knows? Certainly after this week. But I would say that was the remaining position on the pitch that we desperately needed somebody in, because we had nobody. Well, maybe it's harsh on Bradshaw, but I don't think anyone would have had Bradshaw start on the first day next season. Whereas you look at Perry and you think, I can kind of see that. Centre mid is obviously an area that we'll come on to talk about the squad in a bit more detail. But I was just going to say that with centre mid, it's obviously an area of the pitch that we will bring more people in. But I would also say that, you know what, if we go into the first game of the season with our current options, then it's fine. At left back, probably not so much. So it's good to have your man Perry in now.
Yeah, I agree. I've just spotted our gate come up over there, and we're not far off the old boarding sign coming up, I think. So I reckon we should pause this conversation and we'll resume it maybe with a can on the plane.
Yeah.
See you on there. Okay, here we go. We're back. You find us on the plane somewhere across France at the moment. Couple of Coronas in hand. You enjoying yourself so far, Tom?
I'm the pilot. We're currently cruising at 10,000 feet over the Pyrenees. Should be in Spain in a moment. Down through Barcelona, through to the south, into Murcia, and in the pub by 10 o'clock.
It's going fantastically so far. It is one of the hottest planes I've ever been on.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Say that. It's remarkable. And the weather when we land is currently predicted, well, I think on Friday for the game against Preston, it's predicted to be 43 degrees in the afternoon.
Celsius as well.
That is outrageous. That's
not even Fahrenheit.
Absolutely outrageous. We're having a lovely time. Hopefully the noise of the plane isn't too loud and isn't too disruptive, but you're getting a bit of the atmosphere of the chats we're having. So you left us chatting about the new signings that we hadn't discussed just as the gate came up on the screen. Now we've got the squad to chat about, just where we're at, where that leaves us. We've got a good snapshot here that friend of the pod, we think it was friend of the pod, Josh Hunt, put together.
I know Josh Hunt's Excel spreadsheet work, and trust me, it was him.
It's got him written all over it.
It's very artistic.
Yeah,
artistic.
Yeah, it's 4 at the back and 5 at the back, kind of squad options. Obviously, this is an audio-only format, so we can't show you that. But Tom, I wonder if you can talk through. Maybe let's start with 4 because we're expecting Harris to play 4, which actually, by the way, we were saying is going to be an interesting thing from training tomorrow. I think we'll hopefully be able to get a bit of that information tomorrow, or see what he's drilling them in. What does that squad depth say to you at the moment?
A couple of things. I think one is that we look kind of light. Not even so much on numbers necessarily. Like we're already we look in better shape in terms of numbers alone than maybe I thought we were. Quality looks a little bit sparse, particularly with Stead out injured, Hoddle out injured, who was obviously one of our better centre midfield players last season. Uncertainties around particularly Job at the back. Uncertainties going forward about, is Apre good enough? Is Lavery fit enough? Is Hadmay good enough or fit enough? So yeah, I think what it says is that we've got enough players, but are they going to be good enough? It's pretty much what I see from that. That's 4 at the back. It's largely the same thing with 5 at the back. Obviously, you just kind of translate the problems over, like from with 5 at the back. I guess you're like, have we got enough centre halves and defenders? 4 at the back, like, have we got enough people going forward? But there's work to be done, but we've made okay progress.
What's the biggest glaring hole for you looking at that side right now?
I think at the moment, just based on the players we've got in the door now, I think I'd probably say centre mid. And if I could sign a player tomorrow, it would be a quality number 8, I think. Looking at centre mids that we've got Don Ball, Penny Ruddock, Shane McLaughlin and George Hoddle. Hoddle's obviously out injured for a while, so for the purposes of this, we've just got those 3: Ball, Penny Ruddock and Panzu, and McLaughlin. Ballham and Pelly, looked bad at the start of last season. It looked better at the end of last season, but if you would ask me, am I confident going into a League One season with that as our first choice too? Definitely not, but probably not. McLaughlin I like, but again, like, the question mark I suppose there is, when he was not retained initially, it feels like a decision was made that he was either not good enough or not capable enough to be a regular League One player. I don't think that's necessarily changed in the last couple of months. So with that, honestly, I just think we need to bring in some quality there. I'm sure there's a lot of options out there that we'll be looking into. I think Harris mentioned that centre mid is an area he'll address. So for me, it's that. Other areas of the pitch as well. It's basically the spine of the team, if I'm really honest. For different reasons, I think centre back we look okay in terms of personnel, but question marks about particularly Job. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go?
Well, can I interrupt you there with a question we've had in from listener Alex, a valued Coconut Tier member. This is the question is, are you not nervous that the Job situation isn't seeming to move anywhere? I think it's clear to see that he won't sign another deal with us, in which case we need to sell him ASAP and get in his replacement so we can start gelling together our preferred defensive lineup. I think it's a really, really valid question, because there is a bit of an assumption amongst, at least, when we've chatted before about this back line when Perry signed yesterday, there was a bit of an assumption that Job might very well leave this team, and probably will this summer. There are rumours flying around that we've rejected a bid that we're holding out for 7 figures for, but say that's a completely unsubstantiated rumour potentially, but say we're getting bids of 700-800k, like surely you're better off selling now, having 4-6 weeks to replace him for this season, and cashing in on a player who you're not going to any other time in the future.
In theory, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think look, if you want like a completely uneducated prediction, my guess is that Job goes somewhere in the middle to the end of August, because that conversation basically happens internally. It's like, if you're not going to sell him now, you're going to lose a good asset for not much. I guess you might get tribunal money for him, but that's going to be frankly peanuts compared to what it sounds like we're being offered at the moment. And yeah, look, like a big part of Bonner's remit, he talks about those sort of 5 pillars of the role of a director of football. One of those about player trading. Selling assets when they're their highest value is probably a big part of that. Leads me to think that a player like Job is not going to sign a new contract, which he might not. I don't know. Obviously, they've talked about having offered or at least tried to discuss with him. Obviously, he's not signed anything yet. The obvious thing is to try and cash in. The counter to that, for balance, I suppose, is it's easy for us to sit here and say, sell him for 800k, go and sign a replacement. 800k, a million, whatever the figure is that's been put on his head, sell him for that, and then go out and sign a replacement, and jobs are good in. The question mark over that is, you look at how hard we seem to have found it to go and recruit in areas like centre mid, on the wings, defensively, up front. It's much easier said than done to go out and sign a Job replacement, basically. He's probably the best centre half we've had come through the academy since Morrison. Maybe the best player we've had since come through the academy since Morrison.
Better than Darling?
Time will tell, I suppose, but I think.
I'd say on the evidence of what I've seen as a Cambridge United player, I wonder if this is controversial or not. I think Job's better than Darling, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's got better physical attributes for sure. I think he's very comfortable on the ball. I guess time will tell. Like, Darling's obviously still, I think he's got a contract with Norwich, so that's a pretty good level to be at, and obviously good progress from even where he was from us. But I suppose the comparison is, how was Darling in League 2 at a similar point in his career compared to how was Job in League 2 at a similar point in his career? And I think Job was just streets ahead, really.
Yeah, I agree.
And I guess I don't have them in front of me, but I imagine the numbers would back that up in terms of how many goals he conceded, clean sheets, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I think that's the big glaring question mark about the defence is, does Job stay or go, and if so, then what do you do? I think that would chuck a bit of a grenade into what was a previously settled unit. Like, if you lose Gibbons from that and you lose Job from that, all of a sudden not only does it look different in terms of personnel, but there's a couple of big question marks on who's coming to replace him. Can they do as good a job? Then the other area of the pitch, which we'll come back to again, listeners from the 2018-19 season, the 2019-20 season, the 20-21 season, the 21-22 season, the 22-23 season, the 23-24 season, 25-26 season, now the 26-27 season, we'll be welcoming back the chat about have we got enough capability up front.
Well,
and that's where I would.
Can I interrupt you again with a question from Alex, because you guys are very much on the same wavelength here. Alex's other question is, are you not worried that there seems to be no desire for a secondary target man to provide competition for Ahadmi. I'm pleased Ghassan is here, but his injury record is patchy, and even if that wasn't true, then it's always good to have a backup, surely. Also, are we really going to trust Apre to be our focal point to help close the game out in the last 10-15 minutes if we're a goal up? If the ball doesn't stick to him last year, then it's going to be virtually impossible in League One. I guess that's a bit of a roundabout way of saying, like, do you think that Ahadmi, Apre and Lavery, I mean, I know the answer to this, is going to be enough of a both quality, quantity and availability combination for League One?
No.
That really shocks me that you say that.
I mean, I think, well, again, like it's a similar conversation. In terms of quality alone, yeah, fine. Like, I can get on board with that. In terms of like, what I think is likely to happen, I think what's likely to happen is that Lavery will break down early in the season. Ahadmi might stick around for a bit longer, but we'll probably have some time out of the team, injured at some point. Apre, I don't think centre fight. You know, I'm not sure he was quite the right man in League Two. Big step up to League One. Obviously, Northampton team are not good enough at this point as well. I think I can see similar things there. I think we need more up front, but I thought we needed more up front going back however many seasons I've just said. Last season we had enough to get over the line, but that's what it was. It wasn't anything more than that. We've gone into pretty much every season I can remember with 3 out-and-out strikers. I don't think that's going to change. I'll be delighted to be proved wrong. If there's a 4th one there ready and waiting, or we're trying really hard to make a 4th striker happen, great. I think that's what should be done. I think we might be. I wouldn't hold your breath.
No, I'm not sure either. I don't know if you saw the rumour about. We were chatting a bit about it. The lad Matty Warhurst from Man City, who was quite from a creditable source. I think it was Peter O'Rourke, wasn't it, on Twitter, who said us and a group of clubs. He ended up at Northampton on a 3-year deal, and I do wonder, maybe the slight sort of wrinkle to the equation is you're also convincing a striker to come in as, well, are you convincing them to come in as 3rd choice, probably 4th choice, maybe, depending on what they think Apre is in the squad. It's a different sell to like come in and be our number 9 and start every week. So I can imagine also you've got to pitch yourself at the right level in that respect. Okay, look, we've I think we've reached the end of this little segment. We're going to do one last segment later on. So you'll see us hot on the tarmac in Spain, and it will be hot, that tarmac, won't it, Tom?
Sweltering.
Welcome to part 3 of part 1 of the UTAS adventures in Spain. Tom, set the scene for us.
Set the scene. In Spain, we're an hour ahead of you guys now.
Time travelled.
Also, it's very arid around Murcia, but we've landed. We're out the airport. We're in a taxi on the way to our apartment. Which
should we talk about climate change now, or?
I think there's a time and a place to talk about climate change. Probably in and amongst discussion around Neil Harris, his tactics, his formations. Probably not the time, because they're going to be hot enough.
Yes, nice. That's really good stuff, actually. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
It's brilliant what a couple of plain cans do.
Fantastic. You do mention Neil Harris there. We landed to a wonderful text message that tomorrow we're actually going to get the chance to sit down with Neil Harris. We're on the proviso that we can do it somewhere with aircon, and I've never agreed with a man more, to be honest, having been here for about 10 minutes. It's sweltering.
Yeah, you know that cliche of it's like when you get off the plane you get hit by the heat on holiday. Like, it was like getting hit by an Anthony Joshua right hand.
Yeah,
it was and this is considering that we just spent the thick end of 3 hours on a plane, which was also sweltering.
Yeah, no aircon.
But yeah, like landing in Murcia, getting out of the plane was a pretty brutal experience. Yeah, galling stuff. It looks quite nice, I would say. Managed to get a beer in the airport. That's nice. Always
We're in a cab with not sure of his name, but fantastic. Tom probably. Okay, Tom. Let's wrap up this pod by asking, what are you expecting from this week in Spain? I mean, obviously, I know it's not lofty heights. It's a pre-season tour, but is there anything in particular you want to see from? I guess maybe this is a chance to preview that friendly that we derided in the first part of this very pod so many hours ago. Is there anything you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, look, for the purpose of this, let's separate what we're looking for as our expectations as fans and as spectators and as people attending from what we're looking for from the team. Because they're very different things, of course. Yeah. I think in terms of what we're looking for from the team and from the club, I think the big thing in terms of preparation for the season is going to be how we're setting up. 5 or 4 at the back. I know we've had a couple of friendlies already, which maybe not told the full story. I think how we line up against Preston will probably tell us more about what's our first choice in terms of 4 at the back, 5 at the back. That's we joked about it time and time again, but platforms to build on all that. Particularly going into League One, a division where we're going to be up against it pretty much every week. You have to say that's going to be the challenge: is how can we keep teams out, and that's going to be built around our defence. I think 4 or 5 at the back is probably the big question mark. Other than that, you're probably looking for players to watch. I think early signs suggest Heath is going to be that guy. You may be looking for any unexpected names, maybe the youth players. You obviously want to get through injury free. That's the really boring answer, but I think for me it's just, what does the shape look like? What's the team going to look like come August? And who's going to be the main men?
Is there something in I'm intrigued. Do you think on Friday he might treat it a bit? When I say less like a pre-season, I mean rather than 2 11s, it's a bit more of a starting lineup with a bunch of subs, rather than it being just 2 straight 11s, if that makes sense.
I think it's probably a bit early for that still.
Yeah, maybe.
You've got to bear in mind that the first league game is the 15th of August. That's still now just under 3 weeks away.
Plus a Carabao Cup game, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the fixtures we've obviously got Preston on Friday in Spain, bizarrely. 1 or 2 behind closed doors games, Northampton and then Norwich, which are the actual pre-season games. I think Barnet is as much a pre-season game as any that we're going to play. So I think that will be considered an extra week of pre-season. I think if you're asking questions about what does a lineup reflect, what does a lineup suggest, the lineup that we play against Barnet is what will go into that next game with, I think. I think for now it'll be 45 and 45. I'd guess the heat as well. We've joked about it, but I mean it'll be a mad way to sort of quite literally give a baptism of fire to players to be I don't know, Pelly, welcome back. You're doing 90 and 43 degree heat.
What did you say earlier? It's going to be predicted 38 at 1 p.m. when the game finishes. Is that right?
So I know between 3 and 4, which is a couple hours after the game, it's just going to be 43. It's going to be 43, but during the hours of basically between 10 and 1, which when the players are out warming up, playing, and then finishing the match, we're looking at high 30s, severely high 30s. Look, people don't want to listen to a weather report. They've had a whole summer of World Cup chat altitudes and all that sort of stuff. But I guess in terms of what we're looking for from this weekend, I wouldn't expect a serious game between 2 teams of 90 minutes, because I just think it's unrealistic to expect these players coming back, second actual game of pre-season, to go and shaft themselves for 90 minutes in the Spanish midday sun.
What I'm surprised about, Tom, is you haven't yet said a clean sheet.
They'll come. I've said platform.
You did say platform.
I've said
You did say platform.
Although, what is a platform if not a clean sheet?
Correct. Well, now we're getting existential. I think all of that's true. Quite intrigued. Always intrigued to see some of the young players get run-outs. Harris wasn't the most effusive of the young players after the City game, was he? He wasn't particularly well. No, not the young players that played, but he made that point about, it's probably something to discuss a bit more seriously on another pod, that we didn't offer any scholars a professional contract this year, and that's something that he doesn't ever want to see happen again, which is quite an interesting sort of longer term point, I guess, about the football club.
Yeah, I think in the context of this pre-season, younger players is maybe a different way of looking at it, than other summers. I think when I say young players, they're all players that we'd have heard of. Glenn McConnell, obviously not Hoddle, but you know what I mean. It's recognisable names, rather than other summers where maybe someone has come out of the blue and maybe played a lot, like a George Monday, maybe might have done in the pre-season, just gone. Obviously, he's had a brilliant move off to Brighton in the summer. I don't think we're likely to see a breakthrough like that, but I think for sure, at the moment as the squad is, probably McConnell will play more minutes maybe than you might expect, and that's as much a breakthrough as anything, I guess. He's played near on naffle in the league, so I think having a few minutes in pre-season was a good thing.
Right, we're going to end with a last mailbag question for this first pod. This comes from Simon, and this is out of the blue for you. I don't think I prepped you for this. Out of the regular pod hosts / pundits, who is most likely to soak up some Spanish culture with visits to museums and churches, etc., and who is most likely to head for the nearest Only Fools and Horses themed bar? Can you rank the 5 people involved in Under the Abbey Stand, including yourself?
Do you know what?
Simon's scale.
Do you know what? I'll say in terms of culture, I think it'd be Swindle.
Wait, which end?
Top. As in cultural museums.
Yeah,
I genuinely think because I remember going on a stag do with Swindle to Edinburgh. I'm not going to share all the details of a stag do because some of them are quite bad.
I was there as well.
Yeah. Like, again, please you not share them either. But what I will say is, out of the entire stag party, about 30 blokes, him and a couple of others were the only ones who went to Arthur's Seat.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point.
I wouldn't necessarily go to an Only Fools and Horses themed bar. I've never seen Only Fools and Horses.
Let's be clear.
I can make that a mission now. I'll be on the piss heavily. Like, I'm not intending to go to any museums, but I do think Swindle should deserve some credit here.
Okay, fine. So
he's a cultured man. He's from Carlisle.
All right, Swindle top of that list. I don't hate it. I like your reasoning. Who's next?
I think then it's probably you.
It's got to be. I've got European in me.
Yeah,
it's got to be me.
Yeah.
And then now third is an interesting one.
The third, fourth place player opposite me and Jordan. With the greatest respect to Matt Caspel, you are finishing last. It is all right, Deckers, all right, Rodders, how we doing, mate? That's Caspel's venture. No, I think it's a third, fourth place player between me and Jordan, and I think realistically, it's whoever wants it more on the day. It's England, France. It's finishing 6-4. I'm pushing him in a pub. He's pushing me in a museum. I'm running out the museum, and it's slapstick stuff. But I think we'll get some good content out of it.
And I think we've had some good content today so far. 3 different locations. You're going to leave us on a motorway in Spain somewhere. Next time you find us, we'll be in a training ground somewhere in the Pinatar Arena, won't we? Somewhere in the region of Murcia. And fantastic. I can't wait to see you there. Tom, we're going to go for a few beers tonight, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yeah. So when we said you're definitely going to see us next time at the training ground,
it's not overpromise.
Yeah.
One thing at a time.
We might be reviewing what might have happened at training.
We did miss all the training, sure.
But yeah, look, España, baby, world champions, beat the RGs. Thanks for doing our job for us, and now we'll come and do your job for you.
Look at the smile on his face.
If only it wasn't an audio feature.